Hello and welcome to Blogcast 51. It's a small one tonight with just Bragg and Dave joining me. Say hello.
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 How's it going?
We'll get started right away talking about the week that Blackberry has had. Dave, why don't you talk a little bit about what Blackberry has done to prove us right this week?
What have they done to prove us right this week? I guess not as usual, but yet again they've had to go to their inside Blackberry and state the obvious. Well, to some it's not obvious. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but we've been saying it all along. Is that BB10's not abandoned, and handsets are still going to be made and whatnot. It's just I find it so boring, not boring, but repetitive to have to even say these things, because we've been saying it all along. And I know, Brad, you wrote a long article to that effect.
I wrote a lot more than I planned on writing. I was really just going to write about the tweet. That was all.
Well, that should have been like 140 characters or something. That not the 9,422 characters or whatever. But who's counting? I'm not counting. Not me. So, as I don't know whether you'd want to call it vindication or not, I'd prefer the term validation.
There you go. That's a perfect term for it.
Yeah, and it's, is it because, we think we're towing the party line? Is it because, we're Kool-Aid drinkers? I don't think so. It's because of the simple fact that we see what we see, and a spade is a spade, and they say what they're going to do, and that it's their corporate strategy, so that's what we report on. But people take those, they take a lack of information or not a steady stream of information regarding a subject and turn it into a negative. And, it's not really been our style at all to do that. We're supporters of the company, not necessarily just for BB10, but for everything that they produce. And they've said a bunch of times that they're not abandoning it, and now they have to go say it again. It's like every couple of weeks people start rumors and hate posts and trolly things and whatnot, and then you have to waste time defending yourself or whatever. It's ridiculous.
That's just it. We keep repeating exactly like you said, the party line. BlackBerry's given the same story. They've given the same narration since the beginning. Since we first heard about the Priv was coming out as Android, they've said the same thing. They haven't wavered from that. What they've done has been what they told us, back in November of last year. This is going to be the year of Android. We're planning on 2 devices. They've actually blown that up to 3 devices now. Chin said in that interview on NDTV that they did not give up on BlackBerry 10. They're doing 2 updates, and they're security-focused updates, and that once that second update, 10.3.4, comes out, then he would look at the possibility of making another BB10 phone. So we've said that all along, and the frustrating part is every time we say it, people show up on our channel, people show up in comments saying that we're wrong, that's not what's happening, and you get these other sites saying that's not what's happening, and then it just grows and grows to where you've got these other people that may not be keeping up on it, that may not be watching the interviews, that may not be listening directly to BlackBerry, suddenly believing that BlackBerry's lying to us and that they're not putting out this device. And so, I know some people it's fear. I know some people it's,
Sure.
They're worried that they're not going to get their next device. Other people, there is an agenda. That's all there is to it. And some of these other sites in our own little realm, I can't help but wonder if they're not frustrated that people don't believe them, so they're just going with the flow. they're following what they're saying. That was accidental, but they're following what their readers are saying, so they're not fighting them, so they could get those clicks. I don't get it, because this week we had Marty Beard come out, we had the blog post, we had the Inside Blackberry post, we had the tweets. I mean, they've verified it over and over again, what they've been saying all along, and what we've been repeating all along, and what Blackberry's had to continue to repeat all year long. It's truly frustrating.
Sure it is. And excuse me, to be fair and open, whatever, if I'm working there, I'm going to say the things that I need to say in order to keep sales flowing and not create some kind of a storm. Okay, that was unintentional too. And so, the people that work there, they're going to say the things that they need to say to keep the business happening properly and to not damage themselves and whatnot. So I get on multiple levels, the reasons why they're saying what they're saying. I completely and utterly get it. And I absolutely hope that in 2017 or 2018 we might see a new view on BB10 hardware. I don't know. All I can do is go with what the company is saying and not go off the handle and speculate about crap that anybody could speculate about. I mean, there's more armchair CEOs for BlackBerry than there is for any other product on the planet, I swear. Even Apple and their piles of users. There's more armchair CEOs discussing BlackBerry and what they should or shouldn't do, or what they did or didn't do, than any other product I can possibly imagine. It's kind of insane. Anyway, all I got to say is knock it off, people, and just deal with reality and what's in front of your face, and instead of concocting a bunch of baloney, wasting your time.
It really comes down to what we've been saying and what we've been repeating, and what BlackBerry, the Twitter came out and said in black and white this week, that their customers direct their roadmap. So I mean, if what they're looking out at the mobile landscape and all they see is negativity towards BlackBerry 10 coming from their own community and saying, we don't believe you and this isn't what's going to happen, so we're going to run out and we're going to get a Samsung phone because blah, 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 we're not going to get it. I mean, there's got to be a market for that device before BlackBerry will put it out. So we should be out, just like at the beginning when we started the, I choose BlackBerry 10, and then I saw it was Barry Reporter, the other BlackBerry Brad guy out there, that posted let's make BlackBerry great again, which I thought that was neat, except the whole Trump tie-in could be kind of problematic. So I'm sticking to I choose BlackBerry 10, but I think we really need to be out there promoting and pushing that platform in order to get it. I mean, you reap what you sow. If you build it, they will come. However you want to put it, it's in our hands on if it happens or not. It truly is.
No, that's right. And all of the people with their negative Nancy and trolliocious posts and whatnot is merely a contributor to a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you let that go unchecked, it will happen. And I don't know what you think you're trying to accomplish by being that person, whether you think I told you so later in 5 years or in 10 years or maybe never, that's what you're banking it on, so you can say I told you so. Or what a waste of time. Do something positive. Off my soapbox, thank you.
All right, well, let's talk
You know,
about what else BlackBerry is doing coming up soon. Unless, Brad, you have something else you wanted to say.
I was just going to say, we all need to just get rid of our desk chairs and replace them with soapboxes. We really do.
Yes.
Well, BlackBerry has their security summit coming up. It's the third annual. And I think, Dave, you did some research on what they're going to be talking about this year.
Yeah, I took a little time to poke my nose into their website, and this is coming up, I guess, on Tuesday next week. It's a one-day thing, unlike some other, mobile, settings or whatever. This is a one-day thing, and they got like 5 breakout sessions. And just to sort of highlight, there must be 25 or 30 or so subjects being discussed, and some of them are super geeky. It's all obviously to do with security, and of course BlackBerry, as you know, has been acquiring companies to enhance that portfolio in a security aspect, like Ad Hoc and Watchdogs and this and that and the other thing. And I don't want to bore you with a pile of details. I just sort of skimmed over the 5 breakout sessions during the day, and it looks like if you try to do all of these things and be involved with all of the breakout sessions and all the subjects, I'm not so sure it's possible. You probably have to pick one subject in a breakout session and stick with that. In their first breakout session, they're talking about creating a secure and robust Android device, and they're using Daniel Major is talking on that subject, and they're using Priv as an example for that. There's an awful lot of talk about connected car, and I noticed that people are starting to pay attention, especially in the security summit, about how to secure the wireless data that gets in and out of your car. So as we all know, in the past, there's been some cars hacked and driven off the road and whatever in a controlled way. So it's all about those kind of conversations. There's at least 5 automotive discussions happening there. One thing that caught my eye was talking about mobile platforms and the Secure Suites platform and the integrated roadmap. And by that I mean they're going to be talking about integration, further integration and details of BES 12 and Good. So that really caught my eye. Why? Because it's an NDA session. Whatever you learn in there, you cannot discuss further later. So I'm completely guessing in thinking that they're going to talk about a roadmap where they're going to ingest Good into BES and maybe wipe out the name later. I don't know. But I'd love to be a fly on the wall for that one. What else? There's an awful lot of talk about EMM in general. What else? Yeah, secure over the air software delivery. A big panel on that one. I don't know. That's about it. I don't want to take up a lot of time discussing it, but I think I counted maybe a dozen BlackBerry people there. John Chen, obviously, he's going to open the thing up. Marty Beard's going to be there, and lots of people from each section of the company, from security to product development. So it'd be a great thing to go see in New York, Tuesday.
Yep, it's happening on the 19th, and BlackBerry will be live tweeting from the event the entire day. So if you guys are listening and you're interested, you can follow at BlackBerry for Biz for more information. And I'm sure that you'll see some more news about it on our site at UTB Blogs.
Yep.
So let's talk about the Pikachu in the room.
Well, let me tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
When did that come out? Did it come out? Was it last week or early
Last
this
week.
week?
It was
Yeah.
last week. It's been out for
Yeah.
about a week and a half now, I think.
And they first put it out. We're talking about Pokemon Go here, folks. And I think it first was jettisoned to the US and the UK. I'm not sure where else, and Canada was left out. And immediately, places like Reddit and other sites were inundated with people figuring out and finding out how to get the APK running, and that happened like immediately. And I know that because my son was in his younger years addicted to Pokemon, and so when this came out and he found out, it was on his priv in a heartbeat. And then a funny thing happened. I never saw him again because he was out walking around with his phone in his face. And interestingly, meeting other people in our neighborhood, like within a 3-block radius, other people wandering around, bumping into them, meeting new people, and doing exactly the same thing. So it was kind of funny. He came back the first night. He was out there. He got the APK, and he was out there before dinner for an hour. Then he came back, had dinner, and then he's out there for another hour. So it's pretty funny to watch. And he's like, what, 25 now? Yeah, I know how old my kid is. Yeah. Pretty funny. Go ahead.
It's funny. The majority, I see this game come out, and they're Pokemon. They're these little, cute little creatures, and I think I was too old for the first round of Pokemon. I never got into it. I didn't get it. There's just no aspect of it that seemed of interest to me. But everyone that I know that is playing it are older. It's like these are adults that are running around, driving around, getting these critters everywhere. And I mean, honestly, I know it's something that came up in group, and it came up in our forums. Some people were thinking it's ridiculous and whatnot. I love the idea of a AR game. I really do. And I'm hoping this kind of opens the doors for AR games that I would be interested in. I just don't care about the Pokemon.
Yeah, no, I know what you're thinking. Anyway, I have a great deal of respect for it in one aspect, and that is that it gets people's asses off of a chair and outside and roaming around and getting exercise, even though they're still screen gazing. You know what I mean? Spending an awful lot of eyeball time on a screen. Even though they're still doing that, they're getting out there and getting exercise that they normally wouldn't by getting screen time on their computer downstairs in the basement kind of thing. So I got respect for that. Way to go. There was a big scare, and I'm not so sure how valid it is, but there was a big scare from a security standpoint. What's the company name? Niantic or something like that? I can't remember who created the game. I guess licensed, and there was an awful lot of talk about how many permissions are required, and there was some flack, especially on the iOS version, but that got patched and fixed supposedly. I mean, the list of permissions is solidly 100% every permission possible. So I tend to sort of shy away from those kinds of things. I totally get that the app needs your location, otherwise it doesn't frickin' work. So whatever, if you're going to play the game, then that has to happen. A chap, fell on the sword and downloaded the app, and I think he said within 4 hours. The app had accessed his location 7,000 times in 4 hours. And he said that he had the app on. He used the term 50-50. So in that 4 hours, it was in the foreground or just running, and for 50% of the time, and then not. So if, and I doubt this, if the app only accessed your location while it was running in the fore or background, then that would be 7,000 hits in 2 hours, which is kind of redonkulous, but that's what it means. I mean, if you looked at your maps while you're driving a car, you know, you'd probably see some similar stats.
That's just it. You know, and there I go again. I keep saying that's just it on everything. People get freaked out about the permissions. I know, like, I use Tapatalk to get into our forums, and there's a couple people in the group and a couple people on forums. It's like, oh my God, it's asking to use my camera. It's asking to see my files. It's, you know, there's no way I'm installing this app. But you really need to look at what the app is doing. Like, Pokemon is using your camera. It's using your GPS. It's using all of these aspects of your phone. It needs that for the app to work. Tapatalk, you know, you want to be able to load pictures up in the forums, it's going to need access to those files. You know, I mean, it's just, and I mean, honestly, what I've done since being on Marshmallow, I've gone through and I've turned everything off. You know, I just turn off the permissions, and then as the apps need them, it'll pop up and ask me. And that's when it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I see that. Yep. I'll go ahead and allow that.
That's what I do, too. Which killed the conversation.
It did.
Well, I actually want to go back to talk more about what Bragg said about augmented reality gaming and what it could be in the future. What do you think are some manifestations of those games that you could see happening?
A zombie game. No, no, really. I mean, there's so many different things that you can do.
Surprise.
I'm racking my brain trying to remember, because one of my favorite apps on my BlackBerry Torch 9810 was like the first thing I had ever seen with augmented reality. And it was, you hold up your phone and you're looking through the camera and you go around with it, and it would show you like points of interest in the distance and tell you how far it was. And it was supposed to even, like, if you had it turned on to where you could find it, you would see BBM pins pop up, you know, to people that you could talk to. But I never saw a single BBM pin. There's just not many people on BBM around here at that point.
You have to drive north.
Yeah, very north. But yeah, I mean, augmented reality, I think, is awesome. And, you know, we've got a BlackBerry, which means we have battery, we have juice, we can do stuff like that. I can't imagine an iPhone user on Pokemon Go. I mean, do they play for like 15 minutes at a time? And then their phone die, and then they go plug in for an hour?
You know what? Happily, I don't know. I cannot answer that question. But it's a battery pig, you know, that's for sure. And it has to be, because it's running that camera, your screen on time all the time, your GPS, data going, you know, absolutely crazy on 4G or whatever you got. You know, all the updates. It's like it's worse than a mapping software.
Oh, big time.
It's running your graphics game and using all of those services, and so it's a hog. And you know, as an example, my kitty, he grabbed my 5,000 milliamp hour charging pack when he goes out for walks, just so that he can, you know, not worry about juice. I won't tell you the sad story about the demise of my 5,000 milliamp hour battery pack, but he was nice enough to replace it with a 10,000 milliamp hour battery pack, so I'm buying. Yay! Thanks, man. Anyway, yeah, it's a data pig and a battery pig.
I read an article. I believe it may have been today, it may have been yesterday, I don't know. It's Friday, my whole week is blended together. But it was a lawyer bringing up various things that could make Pokemon illegal. And what he was talking about was there's a term for it. I meant to write it down, completely forgot about it. But there's a term for having, like, it was an attractive nuisance. where like if you have something, say you've got an open well on your property, and then you have a playground next to it, you're liable for it if some kid gets hurt. Even if you're not there, you didn't invite them, you gated them in, or you gated your property in because it's an attractive nuisance. And that's what they're talking about in this case. You could have people with a Pokestop in their yard that have no idea they've even got one, and then they've got something dangerous back there. They now have an attractive nuisance. Like, who's going to be responsible for that? Because I can tell you, even at my job, we had somebody knocking on our back door asking if they could come in and get a Pokemon. So I mean, people are going to extremes out there.
Well, okay, this brings up a question. Who the freak is deciding where these things are? Or is it random? And who said that you're allowed to invade my privacy to put that virtual thing in there?
That was one of the questions that this lawyer was asking. I think it is random.
Okay.
I know that you can set up, I don't know what they call them. Do they call them beacons, traps? I don't know what it is, but I know that you can set up things because that's how those people were robbing people. They set one up and waited for people to come.
Yeah, I read something.
You just can't have fun without, you can't, you better have read something about it. I blogged about it. But you can't set up something fun without somebody ruining it for everybody else.
No, that's right. Yeah.
I think a lot of it is determined by like the landscape too, because I know like certain Pokemon characters have certain elemental characteristics, like water-based or ice-based or fire-based, and you can find them in different parts of the world based on their element. Like you'll find water-based characters next to a river or something like that. So I think it can be random, and that's part of what makes it, I guess, interesting to people. It's not necessarily expected, but it's also, the characters are also true to what their backstory is.
Mm-hmm. A story I'm likely not to experience. But whatever. Again, as long as it's not doing any harm and ripping,
but
ripping
it
your
is doing
data.
harm.
What's the harm?
Well, I'm not sure the game is doing the harm, or if it's just the inattentive players. Because you've seen tons of news stories, like Bragg was mentioning the robbery, but there was a story earlier today where two men fell off a cliff while playing this game. There's a story that I just saw in the news feed where two women.
Was it Bob and Jerry Lemming?
two women.
Sorry, Bob. I didn't mean it. I'm going straight to hell.
Two women apparently found a corpse in a park
Yeah.
while looking for
Pokemon.
So I mean, I'm not saying that the game is causing this, where so much as maybe the people just need to be a little bit more aware of what they're doing, and that is more of a tangible security risk rather than just worrying about permissions on the app.
I mean, poor girl, I saw that in the news, poor girl, that is so random to find a dead body. It's just ridiculously random, and it ends up being, making Pokemon Go look bad, which is ridiculous.
True.
Whether you like the game or not, it's just ridiculous. It was a random event that happened to be associated with the game. Like, she never would have walked over there, you know what I mean, without the game. It's just, the poor guy died, I don't know how, and that's got nothing to do with Pokemon Go. It's just sad. So there. Yeah. So just to say, you don't have to catch them all. That's all I got to say about that. You can actually go do something else if you want to.
Don't catch them all if it puts you in danger. There you go. There's our after-school special, warning.
That's our UTB safety warning of the day or week or something.
# play responsibly.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, be cool. It's all good.
I would say Yo Joe, but you guys probably didn't have G.I. Joe up in Canada, did you there, Dave?
Of course we did.
Did you?
I don't even want to tell you the stories, actually. Okay, I'll tell you one story.
Oh my goodness.
We had G.I. Joes and my buddy down the street, whatever, you know, not troublemakers, but whatever. And we had these, you remember when toys were made out of metal?
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Well, I remember my grandpa's toys that were made out of metal, but yeah, so go ahead.
Yeah. God, just get off my lawn, you whippersnapper. We had these, not tanks, but they were artillery guns. And they're, you know, small. I don't know, maybe 5 inches or something like that. And they actually had a firing mechanism that you could pull back and lock. And we used to stick wooden matches in them head first, so that it would strike the wooden match head and launch it. It would go like 20 feet. And so we'd set up these soldiers and whatnot, and G.I. Joes and whatnot, and I'll never forget the absolute bullseye of one of these matches torching a G.I. Joe, and we just, you know, let it burn. That was bad. Kids. But yeah, no, we us knuckleheads know what G.I. Joe is, absolutely. And there's
Your
one
G.I.
less,
Joe was probably Barbie size, wasn't he?
it was there's one less G.I. Joe on the planet as a result of me. Sorry, man.
What's next on the BlackBerry front?
Well, the last thing we have to talk about is the results of the poll from Bragg versus Roy last week's Blogcast.
I didn't look at the results, so who did?
either.
Well, for those that haven't had a chance to listen yet, the poll was about whether or not BlackBerry should do a budget phone. And Bragg was in the pro column, and Roy was in the con column. And
Oh, Erica's turned her microphone off.
I did.
There you
We're keeping it professional here at UTB. The final results that were on that I looked at on the post earlier tonight showed that Bragg won at 60%.
Woohoo!
Yay!
That was close. That was tight.
Yeah, it was.
You know,
Yeah.
I just kind of pulled that idea out of my butt last week when we were talking. But I've thought about it.
And we appreciate it.
Yeah. Ew.
Well, but I've thought about it a lot this week, and you know, we've got Roy's post. We have a thread going on in the forum that I think he even posted up today as another post, right? The more I think about it, the more I like it. Because, I mean, let's be honest. We know BlackBerry for what BlackBerry is. We're BlackBerry fans, and we expect top quality. And I know there's a lot of BlackBerry people out there that don't want to see BlackBerry take a dip in quality. I know that. I understand it. You don't want to see a budget phone with a BlackBerry label on it because that's not what BlackBerry is. But for the general populace out there, the ones that haven't been following BlackBerry, the ones that have been listening to the media agenda against BlackBerry, they think BlackBerry's dead. You know, they think, you know, if there's a BlackBerry phone, it's just one that hasn't been taken off the market yet. And they're not going to go out and spend $600, $700 on a phone. I'm not so sure they're going to go out and spend $300 to $400 on a phone, personally. But I've seen other brands come back, and this is what I was thinking about today, and I had certain examples that I was going to bring tonight, and I'm telling you guys, my brain's not working today. But there's been other brands that have come back as like a budget economy brand. I'm not talking cell phones, just like other things. I think BlackBerry needs to do that. You know, keep bringing out the premium phones. Keep bringing the mid-range phones for us BlackBerry users. But to get the general populace to, A, understand they're still alive, to understand that they're still producing phones, and to be willing to take a chance on them throw a budget phone out there. And if we're working with Alcatel, which I think we all think that they are, they've got a perfect company to do that because Alcatel puts out really good budget phones. They've got the capability of doing it, and yeah, they're not going to feel like a BlackBerry. You're not going to get that BlackBerry heft that I love so much. You're not going to feel like, you know, if you're mugged in the alley, you can corner somebody with your passport and take them out. But
yeah, I do
they're
that
going
all the time.
they're going to have a clean version of Android. It's going to be a secure version of Android. It's going to be a phone that parents will feel safe giving to their kids.
So
And
just to recap, you're talking about this being more steered towards a consumer play as opposed to
right.
an entry-level enterprise play.
Exactly. I totally see this as a consumer play. And I keep going back to it again because I've argued that point that BlackBerry doesn't need the consumer. I've argued it because when I got involved in BlackBerry, they were not a consumer phone. They were just hitting that market, you know, with that little curve. But they were a business phone, and I wanted a BlackBerry because it was a business phone. But like we said last week, the world has changed. You know, it's no longer the business telling Dave, this is the phone that you have for business, and then your kids are like, oh, that's a cool phone. It can do stuff, you know. Now it's Bozo the clown employee that wants to crush candy all day and send Snapchats and, you know, put his entire life out there for everybody to read, is now going and telling the company, well, this is the phone that I need, and the companies are actually listening to them.
You know, I can't believe it. Bozo the clown works for you? I fired him a couple months ago. He must have moved.
Bozo gets around, man.
Yeah.
Erica's upset because we're making fun of a redhead, but
whatever.
You have a much nicer nose.
I wish Roy was here because Roy was very steadfastly against it, and you know I've had a week to think about it. I'm sure he's had a week to think about it.
Well, now
I'm
you
sure
know why he's not on the blogcast, because he lost.
No, I'm sure he's got more reasons, just like I've got more reasons, and I still think we need to do a point-counterpoint post on it.
Uh-huh.
Well, we'll keep the conversation going in forums. Maybe we can talk more about it next week.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we've had a few people more sign up and some activity in the forum, and it's getting lively, which is always good.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute because I'm really bad about forums, and the thing is that that's what got me into this community was the forums. That's what got me active, and I love forums. But at the same time, we've seen, you know, the content on our front page site go down. People are busy. It's summer. Things happen. People have emergencies, and the content, it just has dropped. So when I have time to deal with UTB, my priority is to get posts on the front page. That's my priority. So I haven't really been touching forums. This week I went back in, you know, and I'll be honest, the forums were dead. It was basically, you know, Dick Lewis and Hyman in there chatting, and I think most people would jump in and add a 4-letter word or add a music band every day, but that was pretty much all that was going on. But I think a few of us in the group, in a BBM group, made a concerted effort to go through and, you know, just make a run through every single day. And it's amazing how much activity just that creates to the forums. It really is. And, like, I found myself wanting to get into forums today when I really wasn't able to, just because the people in the forums are awesome. And, you know, I'm used to, I'm not going to say that. There once was a time where I loved going to forums and enjoying conversations with people that had the same interests in me. And then that turned into, I used to like going to the forums to fight with people who were there to trying to just run my day. And then we left that behind, and now we've got these forums, and I'm appreciating the ability to go in and have fun with people again. I've missed that.
Yeah. Well, for those of you out there that have, there's probably a few of you out there that have lurked around in the forums and been reading. And there's a few of you out there that have not lurked around. And to those of you, I want to invite you to sign up and be a part of the community. There's a lot of like-minded individuals in there from all over this planet, and it can be an awful lot of fun. There's games in there. There's serious discussions. There's software updates and whatnot. So get your butt in there. Sign up. We want to see you. So there.
Or come talk about Pokemon.
Yeah.
You can talk some more about Pokemon. So, yeah.
Yeah, Chap started a thread about Pokemon today, right?
Yeah, he did. He wants to know more about people that have gotten it to work both on Crib and what they've seen and on Blackberry 10 because there's a patch out there for it.
Yeah, congrats again to Cobalt. The guy is an animal. If there's something that doesn't work, he makes it work. And there's people playing Pokemon Go on passports and whatnot. So I saw, well, whatever. I saw a complete list of instructions. I think it was on Reddit, and how to get it going exactly. And those are the exact steps. And it probably wouldn't take you more than 15 minutes if you're into that kind of thing. Because you got to catch them all.
Oh, I think that's it for tonight, guys. You guys ready to say goodnight?
That was quick and easy. This may be the shortest podcast we've ever had.
Okay.
Well,
okay with that.
Yeah.
I'll take that as a yes then. Let's say goodnight.
Okay.
Good night.
Yeah, from Blogcast Area 51.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Bye.